Okay. Bam.
All the better to shoot you with.
Great. Hope you shaved.
You know, actually it wouldn't matter. I get a 5 o'clock shadow about 5 minutes after I'm done. Just one of those faces. Was not meant to shave every day, John. We win this thing a couple times, we're just going to go straight beard for re-election.
I saw a movie like that. It was something about the Ark. Guy went to Congress, floods.
Oh, the Jim Carrey movie.
Not Jim Carrey.
Yeah, or something.
Jim Carrey.
I don't know.
Evan Almighty.
Oh, yeah, it was the guy from The Office, Steve Carell.
Yeah, it was a Steve Carell movie.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't a bad movie, I remember. I mean, I don't think it was any great shakes, but...
That was the follow-up to Bruce Almighty?
Yes. Yes, it was. Yep.
The follow-up to Bruce Almighty, which was the original Jim Carrey.
Oh, that's why I got confused.
Yeah. So basically, I was right all along, John.
Except for the part about Steve Carell.
All right.
Nice studio.
Yeah, you know, they did a good job of setting this up. Wait, I don't know that I've ever seen them go to this extent. So
Oh, it was for me,
just for you.
really.
I didn't even know we had this.
Yeah, they roll out the velvet.
I know.
You know, we just did Hannity on Wednesday night, and everything as fancy as things look on TV. I mean, always the fanciest fancy show. Something's just a little weird that you wouldn't expect. His table, you know, you've probably seen it. It's a real high-class looking thing. His table is some scarred up, scratched piece of glass with tape stuck to the bottom of it. I mean, it is the most heinous looking thing you've ever seen in your life. I was, frankly, a little shocked. The rest of it was first class. But.
Well, you know, I think people are typically,
Cool.
surprised at how unglamorous it can be.
Yeah.
We want to welcome today a congressional candidate for District 8, Republican candidate Jesse Kelly. Jesse, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time. Let's just get right to it. We want to learn a little bit about you, and we want to know a little bit more about why you're running for Congress.
Well, right now, people don't need a list of the problems. They know the jobless rates, the gas prices, all these other things. I'm running because we can do better than this. We can get prices down. We can get gas prices down. We can get taxes down. We can get the American people back to work. And the truth of the matter is, I have two young sons. They're 3-year-old and 1-year-old. And I want them to grow up in a country where they don't have to pay everything they make to the federal government, and where they can have all the job opportunity they would ever want.
And what sets you apart from the other candidates? List 2 things for us.
I'm 6'8". I'm
right.
clearly a foot taller than everybody else in this race. And look, the question always comes up, why are you better? Why are you the best suited one? We just run a campaign on the issues. We're not talking about anyone else's platform or anything they do. We talk about taxes and jobs and the economy and gas prices, and that's what we'll do now, and it's what we'll always do.
Okay. And when you think about critical issues that are facing southern Arizona, what 2 issues come to mind?
Well, you probably heard me say this before, but jobs and gas prices. We currently have 14% real unemployment, both in this nation and down here in southern Arizona. That's unacceptable. The American people want a job. They don't want more fighting from the politicians. They don't want more Washington bickering. They want a job. We can get them those jobs. We can get out of the way of the employer. We can bring down the corporate tax rate and get them those jobs. And when it comes to gas prices, not only does that create jobs, but drilling for oil will lower the price of gasoline. We have all the oil we need in this nation. We have all the natural gas we need. We have everything we could possibly hope for to be energy independent. We can embrace these energy resources now and move forward.
All right. Let's talk about some of the issues, and we'll start with border security. What's your plan to secure the southern border?
Build a double air border fence. Get the Border Patrol agents the manpower and resources they need, but they built that double air border fence in San Diego when violent crime dropped by 50%. It was actually a bipartisan piece of legislation. That's how that got passed. President Clinton signed it into law. Republican Duncan Hunter, it was his law that went through Congress. So there are real solutions that Washington has done. Yuma has built the fence and had great success. Texas has built theirs. They've had great success. We still have a wide open border here, and that's just not acceptable.
When it comes to immigration, how would you reform current immigration law?
Well, it's not that we need to reform current immigration law. We simply need to enforce the laws we have on the books.
All right. Another topic, education. Huge topic here in Arizona with some of the lowest rankings for our students. Let's talk a little bit about this Mexican American Studies program, which is obviously local specific for us. Obviously, the restrictions that were placed on the program within TUSD that ultimately forced its, it's the end of that program. What is your stance on that decision to end the Mexican American Studies program?
I agree with that decision.
And do you want to explain why?
But I think it's pretty clear. The students that are educated in the United States of America should be educated not at a federal level, by the way, at a state level and at a local level. They should be educated on our amazing history of freedom. And I think that's what we should teach our kids.
All right. We have some viewers who have weighed in. We asked them to submit some of their questions for the candidates, and we have one now. This is from Sally Chandler. Sally says, I'm sick and tired of our children graduating from high school without knowing basic skills. No child left behind has, if anything, made things worse. Do you have plans for changing this? And if so, how would you pay for it?
Absolutely. And the plan is to get the federal government out of education. Arizona is a donor state, meaning we send $1 to Washington to education, and we get 71 cents back from Washington with 71 different rules on how we're supposed to spend that money. We need to get education at the local level, not from Washington, not even at the state level, at the local level, because the most important resource in educating our kids is our parents. Parents are the ones who are the most important, and they shouldn't have to fly to Washington, and they shouldn't even have to drive to Phoenix. They should be able to drive up the road and talk to the people in charge of educating their children.
In Tucson, there have been 4 suicides so far this school year. Not on Your Side has been following this problem, and the suicides have been connected to bullying. How do you think the problem of bullying should be addressed?
I think it should be addressed the same way so many of our problems in our society could be addressed, and it starts and ends with the family. I was blessed to have a great mother and father. It is my goal in life to be both a great husband to my wife and a great father to my 2 boys. But that's where these problems are talked about, and that's where they're solved.
Okay. Let's shift gears a little bit, talk about the economy. What 3 things would you do to jumpstart the economy and create jobs?
Lower the corporate tax rate immediately. We currently have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. That's chasing out American businesses. It's chasing out American jobs. That's for 1. For 2, we need to lower the income taxes of every single American that currently pays taxes. They talk a lot about the top marginal rates, where those are small businesses. We cannot continue to tax our small businesses, because then we lose them and they're our most valued employers, and then we're all subject to bigger companies. Also, finally, we need energy in this country. We have all the oil and natural gas and coal and any other resource we could possibly want. Those are job creators. They currently have 3% unemployment right now in North Dakota. That's because of the oil fields. And the biggest problem they have is they don't have enough housing for all the jobs they've created. We could use those kind of problems nationwide.
All right, on health care, let's talk about your take on the healthcare system and maybe a couple of ways that you would reform what's in place.
Well, we need to repeal Obamacare first and foremost. The federal government has no right to force the American citizen to purchase anything from anybody. But we do need to bring down the cost of medical care. We have the finest care in the world, but we also have it's too costly. The American people can't afford it. The best way to do that is to get back to individual ownership of health insurance. That means giving each and every American citizen the same tax breaks that employers get when purchasing their insurance. They also need fewer restrictions on that insurance, meaning you should be able to go home and go online as easy as you can shop for auto insurance and purchase a tailor-made plan for you.
All right. And what is your position on the bill that's in the Arizona legislature that would allow employers to opt out of birth control coverage for moral or religious objections?
My position on it is that I think this is an issue created by Washington, D.C. to get the American people to stop talking about 14% unemployment and $4 gasoline. That's what I think. We have 30 million Americans out of work. the people that have a job can't afford the gasoline to get there. And now we're talking about a subject that does not put a paycheck in the hands of one single American.
All right. Afghanistan, much talk about the president's plan to withdraw troops by 2014. How do you feel about that plan to take our combat troops out of Afghanistan at that deadline?
Well, what we've seen in Afghanistan, sadly, is it's fought by the politicians, and it's fought to look good on the news. No offense to KGUN-9 or anybody else.
None taken.
But instead of fighting to win, we fight to look good on the news, and that's the problem. If the politicians are going to continue to send our men and women into combat and give them these horrible rules of engagement that get our people hurt, then bring them home. We've had enough.
All right. Let's get to some of our viewer questions now, and that's how we'll round out the interview. The first few questions are budget-based. We have an email question from John Gorman. John wants to know, how would you have voted for the budget proposal that passed the House last week, and how would you balance the budget? This, by the way, is the Ryan bill.
To balance the budget, I won't speak specifically to the Ryan budget, but to balance the budget in this nation, we need more revenue that is brought into the federal government and not using tax increases. We need more jobs and we need more industry. We've already touched on it, but energy is the only way we will pay off this deficit and pay off this debt.
Richard Snow wants to know, are you in favor of bringing much needed federal funds for bridges and roads to southern Arizona?
I do not believe in pork projects in any way. What southern Arizona needs is lower taxes and lower gas prices so we can take care of ourselves.
All right. Donald Woolley asks, would you be in favor of modifying the current medical, retirement, and related benefit packages received by congressional members and their staffs and replacing them with a Social Security and health care package similar to that provided by a mid-sized private employer?
I believe it is critical that Congress lives under the same laws and same standard of living that they put on the American people.
Virginia Cornell wants to talk politics with you. She says citizens are tired of partisan gridlock in Washington. What will you do to work with your opponents to get laws and appointments passed?
Well, as we talked a little bit earlier about the double-layer border fence that would secure the border, that was a bipartisan piece of legislation. We've actually talked some on this campaign about a simple 1% tax cut across the board. 1% for everyone who pays, 1% capital gains taxes, 1% corporate tax rate. I think every party could get behind a tax cut like that, and what it would be, it'd be the largest tax cut in American history, and it would get people back to work instantly.
All right, and Roger scored. This is our final question. Roger says, this election is to represent southern Arizona. How well are you connected with current mayors, sheriffs, and state legislators?
Very well, and a lot of that is because of our last campaign. We ran before and actually came within 4,000 votes of winning, so what that did was it really helped us tie ourselves in with the community and the legislators in the community.
All right. Jesse, that'll do it. We certainly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Wish you well.
I appreciate it.
Sure.